Every year, the federal budget decides who gets paid and who gets left behind. It funds your Social Security check, your child's school bus, your local VA hospital. Without it, the country shuts down. Every October, a ticking time bomb hides in plain sight, the federal budget. It sounds boring, but behind those numbers is the infrastructure of American life. And when that budget stalls, so does the country. So how does a single missed vote threaten everything from paychecks to public safety? And who really controls the switch? In a moment, we'll see how that clock actually works and why our future depends on it. Think of the federal budget as the nation's giant checkbook. In fiscal year 2024, Washington spent about $6.8 trillion, roughly $20,100 for every person in the United States. To fund that spending, the government collected about $4.9 trillion in taxes and other revenues, roughly 17% of GDP. The gap between what we spend and what we take in is the deficit, and it's the reason the national debt keeps climbing. The budget has three big buckets: mandatory spending, discretionary spending, and interest on the debt. These are programs written into law. Congress doesn't vote on them each year. They consume around 61% of the budget. The largest is Social Security. In fiscal year 2024, the government spent about $1.5 trillion on Social Security, 22.4% of the entire budget. That money supports nearly 69 million people with average monthly retirement benefits around $1,975. Yet the program is on an unsustainable path. The trust fund paid out more than it collected in 2024, and the Social Security Administration warns it could be depleted by 2034. If Congress doesn't act. That looming cliff raises the emotional stakes for every current and future retiree. Health programs sit right behind Social Security. Medicare cost about $839 billion in fiscal year 2024, more than half of mandatory federal health spending. It covers about 68 million Americans, most over age 65. Medicaid and the Children's Health Insurance Program, CHIP, provide care for roughly 83 million low-income people and cost the federal government about $584 billion in 2024. Together, these health programs make up over a quarter of all federal outlays. As America ages and healthcare costs rise, these obligations keep growing. Mandatory spending also covers veterans' benefits, federal pensions, income support programs like SNAP and unemployment insurance, and support for farmers and students. It's all on autopilot. Unless Congress rewrites the laws, the checks keep going out. This is where lawmakers have real control. Discretionary spending made up about 27% of the 2024 budget and is authorized through 12 annual appropriations bills. The biggest slice goes to national defense. In fiscal year 2023, the Pentagon spent about $820 billion, roughly 13.3% of the budget. Congress signed the fiscal year 2024 defense budget at $841.4 billion. That money pays 1.3 million active duty troops, equips them with aircraft, ships, and satellites, and supports millions of veterans. Despite the eye-popping total, defense spending has fallen from about 28% of the budget in the late 1980s to 13% today, while other needs have expanded. Non-defense discretionary spending funds everything from education to environmental protection, public housing, and scientific research. In 2024, it accounted for just over half of discretionary outlays, meaning agencies like the National Institutes of Health, the Department of Education, and the Environmental Protection Agency must fight for every dollar. Here's the sleeper story: interest. Because the government borrows to finance deficits, it has to pay interest on its debt. In 2024, the U.S. spent more than $2.6 billion every day on interest. Net interest costs made up 13% of the budget, and rising rates have made interest the fastest growing part of federal spending. Without a plan to rein in borrowing or raise revenue, interest costs are projected to nearly double as a share of the budget over the next 30 years. Before Congress funds a single program, taxpayers have to cover yesterday's bills. To understand the budget, you need to know where the dollars come from. The largest source of revenue is individual income taxes, comprising roughly half of all receipts. Payroll taxes, split between workers and employers, make up about 1/3 and finance Social Security and Medicare. Corporate income taxes bring in around 10%, while excise taxes on goods like gasoline and tobacco, customs duties, and other fees fill in the rest. In total, the government collected $4.9 trillion in 2024, but tax breaks, known as tax expenditures, reduced revenue by about $1.9 trillion. Those preferences, such as the mortgage interest deduction, operate like hidden spending programs. Who decides where the money goes? The Constitution gives Congress the power of the purse, but the process begins with the White House. By law, the president submits a detailed budget proposal to Congress by the first Monday in February. This blueprint outlines spending, revenues, and borrowing for the upcoming fiscal year starting October 1st. Congress then drafts its own budget resolution, a blueprint setting overall spending and revenue targets, which is supposed to be completed by April 15th. Next, the House and Senate Appropriations Committees divide the discretionary pie into 12 slices: defense, agriculture, education, and so on, and write individual spending bills. Those bills must pass both chambers and be signed by the president by October 1st. If they're late, Congress usually passes a continuing resolution to keep agencies funded temporarily. Failure to do so triggers a government shutdown where non-essential services grind to a halt until a deal is reached. In extreme emergencies, lawmakers pass supplemental appropriations to provide extra funding for disasters or wars. The federal budget is more than a spreadsheet. It's a statement of national priorities. It funds the retirement income that millions rely on, the health care that keeps our parents alive, the troops who defend our freedoms, and the scientific research that cures diseases. It also determines the taxes we pay and the debt we leave to future generations. As interest costs surge and the population ages, choices will become harder. So here's the question. Which part of the budget do you think needs more attention? Programs like Social Security and Medicare, defense spending, investments in education and infrastructure, or reducing the debt? Let us know in the comments. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more to come.